Horses and Music.
Horses and that's right, my bad.
Cedar Vista.
Cedar Vista. Right on. So tell me about the place.
Well, I'm David Luttrell, and my wife Laurel Luttrell are both faculty members at K-State, and we moved here to this area in 2003 from in town. I'd never lived in the country before, but my wife did because, and she grew up riding horses, and which is the reason we came out here, so we could have horses of our own. And we saw this property just a half mile from our place, of course immediately, and saw that it was abandoned. It was in terrible shape on the property. The schoolhouse was actually in bad shape too, except for structurally, and it was in excellent condition that way, as far as not leaking and things like that. But in 2003 we moved here, and about 4 years later I started talking to the wonderful people at the Manhattan Roundup Club, and essentially I asked them if we could just have their property free. And there were 7 family units who saw what the ideas we had for the property, and generously donated the land to us, 11 acres and the schoolhouse.
Wow.
I raised a lot of money, and I spent a lot of my own to clean up the property, to clean up the schoolhouse, and it's been a labor of love. But I've used it for music camps, for teaching cello lessons out here, pre-college cello lessons. We've had dinners out here. Of course, people stop by once in a while to see the place. And my wife, of course, she pastures the 3 horses over here during the summertime. And she rides in the arena that was the first thing that attracted her. And so we've had a great time with this place. The schoolhouse was built in 1885. It's called the Cedar Creek Schoolhouse, and we renamed it Cedar Vista for the whole property because there are a lot of cedars around here. And it was used as a schoolhouse until 1937. Mr. Galen Prestwood lives 2 doors down. He's in his late 80s, and by now he went to school here in the 1930s. He's told us some stories. One of the most touching stories was one of his classmates lived on this property, I believe, in a stone house that no longer exists, and for lunch he ate lard sandwiches because it was desperate times in the Depression, of course. But he said that he used to hide behind this fence over here, this stone wall, in the 1930s. I'm guessing it was built in the late 1800s for the schoolhouse purposes because it is on the boundary line. It came down all the way past the schoolhouse. You can still see some buried rocks underneath the fence that have been taken away. But when we got the property, it took 2 or 3 men to lift these immense rocks back into place. I have no idea how much they weigh, maybe 200 pounds or so, much more than I can handle. A lot of them were buried and are still buried, but we put it back in order as best we could. The other side of the property is the Corps of Engineers property, Corps of Engineers, and they have that property, I believe, as part of the whole Tuttle Creek reservoir system. That is a girls' outhouse right there in excellent condition. I mean, you can't use it for what it's intended for, but it's just a cute little building. A boys' outhouse was also on the property over in this grove of trees. We found the foundation for it, but there was no building left. We just filled it in. This property, when we got it, was all covered with trees all the way up to the rock wall, which no one remembered really, because it had been covered up for decades. There was a merry-go-round here without just the pole in the center. It was a horrible thing to pull out of the ground too. There were barbed wire fences that were in here. It was a total mess because it had been abandoned for about 20 years. Mm-hmm. We'd had people, I'm guessing of the high school boy persuasion, who would get in the schoolhouse and make mischief. There is a burned area about the size of a dinner plate. There's charred wood on the floor. Who knows when that happened. There's been a stupid rumor that this is a haunted place, which of course it isn't. But from time to time there was a little bit of vandalism, but a deceased neighbor looked over this property for many years, and we have a plaque honoring him inside the building. let's see. We changed out the roof to asphalt shingles. Used to be a tin roof, which is what preserved it. The entryway had no insulation whatsoever, and so it's now been insulated and drywalled. We have heating and air conditioning inside, so it's used and very comfortable year-round. New lighting. The whole property has buried electrical cable now. I mow the lawn out here, maintain it so it looks nice, and we have a wonderful time here. In fact, this Saturday morning, for instance, 10 of my pre-college students are giving a cello recital, and their parents will come out here, and we set it up like a little recital hall and have a good time. The Manhattan Roundup Club was active from the early 1950s until about 1985 or so. They disbanded about 1994. As I said, 7 family units saw our vision for the property and generously donated to us. It was interesting that I paid them $800 for incorporation fees that they needed to pay to the state that hadn't done for 10 years, and their lawyer fees for a quit claim. And so I paid them $800, and there at the table they said, well, coincidentally, we have just a little over $800 in our checkbook, and so they donated that money to it's a not-for-profit corporation. So
nice.
In other words, we got this 11 acres free, and so I'll be forever indebted to the Manhattan Roundup Club for this. And got to make some friends with several of them. In fact, one of them was one of my 6th grade teachers. This is the entryway that we insulated, put drywall on, and I like maps. That's a map, a very old map of Versailles. Down here we have listings of people who donated either in kind or money to cleaning up this property. Right here is a funny little thing. One of the students in the Gold Orchestra wrote about 10 years ago their Bill of Rights as members of the orchestra, like they don't have to laugh at my jokes and things like that. Over here is a montage that one of the students made from our trip to New York City when the Gold Orchestra played in Carnegie Hall in 2006. We had gone there in 2001 also. And we also played in Chicago in 2010. And up here is a picture of when the K-State Wind Ensemble played in Carnegie Hall in April of 2015. And Anna Marie Whiteco was a saxophonist and I was the cellist. And we were the soloists with the wind ensemble. And that's Dr. Frank Trace and Mr. Don Lynn, who are the conductors of the wind ensemble. So it was a fantastic experience. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever think I'd play a cello solo in Carnegie Hall.
Wow, that's incredible. Wow.
This is the interior of the schoolhouse. It was in horrible shape when we got it. I'm not blaming anybody, it just was abandoned. A lot of the windows had been broken out and then covered up by the neighbor next door with plywood. And barn swallows had gotten in, but worst of all, the pack rats brought in lots of things, twigs and whatever. It was just absolutely filthy in here. A lot of Gold Orchestra students and parents came over and helped one day, helping clear out some trees and clear out the inside of this building. And then I spent countless hours painting and restoring it. Michael Dorst, who's an assistant principal at the high school, in the last 2 years has done lots of good things for this place. He's put in new lighting, LED lights, can lights in the ceiling. These are the original globes, probably from the 1930s or the 1920s whenever they got electricity out here. Huh. But they look like old schoolroom globes. Let's see what else. Oh yes. Wherever you see the cream color and the white colored ceiling, that was all turquoise that I had to paint over. Took 4 coats of paint on the ceiling alone. Manco put in these wonderful double pane windows. They're low E, so everything is extremely well insulated. We have 10 inches of insulation in the attic that keep it nice and warm.
It's really warm in here. It's
Yeah.
really...
And I haven't had the heat on or air conditioning on for several weeks, I suppose, now. But I teach cello lessons here, and we've had the entire Gold Orchestra sit in here, 30, 35 students for rehearsals. And it works fine. You can hear quite well. You would think it'd echo like crazy, but it doesn't.
But the acoustics wouldn't be so bad in here.
Oh yeah, and Mr. Dorst also refinished the floor. This is the original yellow pine floor from 1885. And we sanded it. Found interesting cigarette burns, probably from when it was used with the Roundup Club. Yeah. And then over here on the other end, we have new wood that we put in, about 8 feet worth, because that was underneath the stage. They always had a little stage in these one-room schoolhouses.
Okay.
And it was inferior wood, had some dry rot in it, and a little bit of termite damage from a long time ago. So we just replaced the boards in that, put new molding around, or baseboards around, mouse-proofed it with steel wool and great stuff insulation. And I haven't had any mouse problems since then.
What's this map up here?
That's a map of Paris. You can get a close-up view of that. I bought that in 1968. I'm a Francophile. And you can see Notre Dame is over here, and the Eiffel Tower is over there, the Champs-Élysées, the Louvre.
It's incredible.
Bird's eye view, that's before they had satellite photographs of cities.
Oh wow, this is such fine detail. That's...
Oh yeah, I mean, these are each individual building you find in there. And names of the streets.
Oh wow. That's an incredible map.
Show a close-up of there's the Eiffel Tower, the Palais de Chaillot across the river Seine from it. And straight north of that is the Arch of Triumph.
Arch of Triumph. Oh, okay.
The Avenue Champs-Élysées, des Champs-Élysées, going down to the Louvre, the Tuileries Gardens. And over here is Notre Dame.
Wow.
This is before the Pompidou Center, so we don't have any of that on this map. This is, like I said, 1968 or so.
They don't make maps like this anymore.
No.
This
That's all it
is
doesn't sound like.
incredible. Wow.
This is a poster that a friend of mine made a number of years ago, Mark Weddle, and he has some before and after pictures, and I have a lot more pictures on my computer, but this is one of the things that attracted us at first, believe it or not. It was, at one time, must have been a very nice announcer's booth. But of course, through the years, it just tumbled down, and the way to get rid of it is you just set it on fire. Then you use a magnet to pick up hundreds of nails afterwards. This is the red building that was seen in another part of the video. That's the concession stand. Had almost no paint. There were holes in the roof. We restored that. That was my wonderful dog that I lost last December, but he saw me through all this renovation here. Down here is a picture of the inside of the schoolhouse when we had just started cleaning it up. Oh, you can see plaster patches that I've done. The ceiling was fine, of course. We'd cleared out a lot of all the trash by that time too. Then of course I had to paint everything. Over here is the Babut family, and this daughter was one of my cello students at one time. You can see what the house used to look like. Almost no paint left, and I'm sure it's all lead paint too. Jerry Dixon, the man is now deceased, who lived next door, boarded up the windows to keep out the vandals. We have a plaque honoring his memory for watching over the place for so many years. Here's an example of the trash we found inside here. 2 stoves, just clutter galore. and had a tin roof on it at one time, which now has asphalt shingles. Over here is just my barn that my run-in that I made. And then here's in the process, that concession stand in the process of getting fixed up. Still had a ways to go. And this is before we had any decoration in here. Before I'd done too much at all. We had a potbelly stove, which I've taken out. And that's not so much important, that's the run-in. And over here it gives an example of land clearing where we had all these trees behind the schoolhouse, and you can see the rock wall has emerged, but you can see here that there are a lot of rocks missing that after this picture was taken.
So this is the field right up
yes.
front. Okay. Wow.
And that's after we'd taken out all these trees. You can see all the bare area there. And Jesse Dixon's the one who cleared that land. He just used a skid loader with essentially hydraulic scissors. They're called shears. And he cuts them right off at the ground level, and then he shoves them into place, and I burn them.
Huh. That's incredible.